Welcome to the Web Marketing Show, a podcast hosted by Randy Thornton. Randy is a website developer and also known online as the SEO Google Guru. Learn how she approaches today's internet marketing challenges with straightforward, strategic web marketing guidance for businesses and industries of all sizes. Sit back, relax, and listen as Randy shares systems, tools, advice, trends, technologies, and how-tos about everything related to productive web marketing. Because time does matter, let's get started. Here's Randy.
So let's get on with the show. And first and foremost, just want to let everybody know that's listening out there or who may be listening later that I'm so excited to be doing this. This is something that I'm very passionate about and something that I've actually procrastinated about. And I've always, for quite a while now wanted to do my own podcast, but it has been kind of easy to put off. I have that personality that wants everything perfect before I do anything. Just like most things in life, if you don't dive in, you're never going to be able to make it perfect. So I hope you understand and will find this journey as exciting as I do. And grow with me as I learn how to podcast so we can learn together. Next, like I mentioned, I just want to take a couple of minutes, share my story. I think it'll help you understand maybe why this podcast means so much to me. And I promise not to go back to my early childhood. That's another story. But let's start in 1999. And the reason I want to start there is that's the year that I had my first website developed. I owned a mortgage company and I had a computer on my desk. I didn't use it very much, but I thought if I only could develop a website or figure out how to do that, I could certainly increase my mortgage business. People that maybe didn't know about my mortgage company would find me online. And I was just really intrigued by that. So I used the Yellow Pages. Yes, I know the Yellow Pages. And I found a web developer that was, pretty close to my office, maybe 15 minutes away. So I started sketching out web designs and what I wanted this website to look like and thinking about the color schemes and just had this great vision of what I wanted it to look like. And I would go back and forth to his office. We'd have weekly meetings. Every time I would come with more sketch art and he would take that napkin or that piece of paper and do his magic and code it. And it took, 3 to 4 months probably of weekly visits going back and forth. And it also cost me back. I do remember writing that check. It was about $5,000, which was a lot of money. It's still a lot of money today, but it was a lot of money back in 1999. The first day that we had the launch, I couldn't sleep the night before. I was just certain that this was going to increase my mortgage business. And, the business was doing good, but I just wanted to see where this could take me. Well, nothing happened. Couldn't figure this out. I thought for sure people would go online and fill out the mortgage form and, we would do mortgages, but no one came and no one came. So to continue on with my story, I'm not a giver-upper. I learned about something called SEO, search engine optimization, which was the method or tactics used both on-site and off-site to rank in the search engines. And trust me, things were a lot different than they are today. But nonetheless, I was certain this was my solution. So back to the Yellow Pages and maybe a little bit of online searching, but primarily newspaper ads, Yellow Pages is where I looked. And I found a couple of search engine optimization specialists, the ones that promised me the world. And, they certainly would get me that traffic and get someone to my website and fill out a form. So I spent a lot of money. After hiring the first person, not receiving any results, I chuck that up as to just, learning that it's probably not as easy as I had hoped. And also that I had to be a little more cautious moving forward with, who I was going to hire. Well, this happened about 3 or 4 times. So several thousands, I don't even want to know the dollar amount later. A lot of wasted time, money, and effort on my part. I decided that no one's going to take care of my business or cares about my business as much as I do. So I decided I was going to learn everything I could about SEO. And I continued on for about a year in the evenings and weekends and consumed everything I could about search engine optimization. And I used my website as the testing ground, and I would implement some tactics, and then I would also monitor the results. And of course, results don't happen instantaneously, so there's a lot of trial and error that happens. But eventually, I was pretty excited. I got my first mortgage application. Somebody actually found my website online, and they actually filled it out. I mean, it was a pretty exciting day. I continued on with my search engine optimization efforts, learning, devouring everything I could. And after time, I ended up building a mortgage calculator website. Back then, I would get a fax every morning from a company that I paid, and they would send me the top keywords that people would search for online nationwide. Every time that list came over my fax machine, the word mortgage calculator was in the top 100. So that led me to believe, why not give the people what they want? I'm going to develop another website. So I developed a website that specifically dealt with mortgage calculators. It was every type of mortgage calculator that you could imagine. And I went back to my web developer, went back with my pieces of paper with my web design scratched into it. I figured out and worked with people to develop these very engaging and interactive mortgage calculators. And even looking back today, I think about those calculators that had created and my vision for them. And back then, they were pretty robust. And I visit some websites today that should have a mortgage calculator on them, such as real estate websites. And the functionality of those mortgage calculators is not even as great as mine back in the day. So once again, pretty proud. And it just felt like these websites were my baby, and I nurtured them and I continued on with my SEO. Life is going really good at this point. I had more leads than I could keep up with, so I started another website, which was a website that sold mortgage leads. So I was actually probably maybe what you would consider the Zillows or the Trulias or any, those would be portals that sell real estate leads to real estate agents. And I think pretty much with any industry, people that are successful online they sell leads to other people that don't take the time to figure out how to master this crazy SEO. So I was lucky enough that I got it all figured out, and life was so great. My efforts had definitely paid off. I then out of the blue one day, I got a call from a company that was an industry leader in my industry. And they wanted to buy my website. They wanted to buy one of them. They only knew of one of them. And I thought, well, why would they want to buy my website? And after several conversations, it became obviously apparent that they did not have the search rankings that I did. I think at that time I had over 500 keyword phrases that were highly competitive keyword phrases that ranked number one on Google. And people were paying upwards of $15 to $20 for each click if they were to do pay-per-click. And so they wanted my website. And when I explained to them that I had a affiliate site and a mortgage calculator site and some other supporting websites, they made me an offer I couldn't refuse, and they bought up all my websites. Well, it was a great payday, but part of my contract was I wasn't allowed, I had a no compete. I had a no compete in my clause in the purchase of the websites for 2 years. I was restricted from building any websites for 2 years. So I went back to a passion that I had had prior to opening my mortgage company, which was real estate. And I was a franchise sales director for Realogy and in the Century 21 division. And I was a franchise sales director for the Midwest territory. And I met a lot of brokers and I met a lot of really neat people. And actually I learned a lot. It was a great 2 years. But after my 2 years was over, I just had a desire to go back to SEO. I just was drawn back to it. I couldn't wait to start developing my next website. Didn't know what I was going to do, but I knew that that's where my passion was. So ultimately, I went back and I developed my first site upon returning, and that was SEOGoogleGuru.com. And that's a website I still have today. And I practiced SEO. I'm an SEO consultant. And I've had the honor to work with a lot of really exciting, some smaller boutique type businesses, and definitely some larger companies. Well, during this period of time, several of the clients that had approached me for SEO obviously had a website and they had paid. I heard the same story over and over. They had paid, they had paid a lot of money for their website and they wanted me to do SEO for it because nobody was coming. Well, I could do this. I've done it many times. I could do this. I've done it before. Well, I found out that dealing with website developers is not all that easy and can sometimes actually be challenging. There were some very uncomfortable days when I had to explain to my clients that because the way their website was built out, it was going to limit what I could do for them from an SEO perspective. There was a lot I could do, and I did a lot for them. But your website is the foundation, and it's the springing board for everything else that you're going to do from an SEO perspective. So it's so critical that your website has a solid SEO foundation. So I'd often work with their web developers, and I was told more times, no, we can't do that, than, yeah, we'll work with you. We'll be able to make these changes. And I won't get into all the details now. We'll talk about those later in upcoming episodes, and I'll share some of these experiences and conversations I've had with you later on. But I just felt like somebody out there had to provide a service for companies that needed a website, and the website vendor had to provide a platform or a website that was easy to make changes to, that didn't cost an arm and a leg, and that most importantly was built from the ground up with a solid SEO foundation. This just didn't seem to be readily available, or I'm not sure if the people I worked with, how they found these website companies. But just like with everything, everybody can't be an expert in everything. So in 2011, I opened a company called WordPress Website Builder Bundle, and that site's located at wpwbb.com, and it's a site that I used to convert my SEO clients over to when they were dealing with a web host that wasn't going to accommodate their request for us to work with them to make their site SEO friendly. And that's been really good, and it's been really helpful, and that's how that site came to be. I also have developed a couple of other websites. One is dentalbusinessbuilder.com. That is a web marketing website development website for people in the dental industry and for dental offices. And I also have a website called realwits.com, which is a website that specializes in real estate type websites. What people don't understand oftentimes is that SEO tactics are pretty much the same regardless of your industry. the same types of strategies are still applicable and apply. Because of all these trials and tribulations that I know my clients have had in the past, along with them coming to me and telling me they just came from a SEO seminar, and if they only were to do this with Facebook, or if they were only to add these tags to their categories or similar, that their search rankings were certain to climb. And it just wasn't the case. It may have helped, and it might have been a small, tiny component to the big picture, but I just wanted a place where people could go to and get straightforward, helpful, with no hype information about SEO, and have some really actionable takeaways that they can implement on their website. So that is the reason, or this podcast was developed with all you business owners in mind. So I also want to mention that I want to pay it forward during my years and different times during my struggles. There were people that were there to support and to help me. And so I just want to pay it forward. And I'm a believer in doing that. Every time I've done it, it just seems like things come back, twofold for me. So I'm not doing it to be selfish. I'm just doing it to help others. If I can reduce some of the stress I went through, if I could eliminate you spending useless money and eliminate some of the frustrations that I experienced, it's all going to be worth it. Let's reduce the stress and frustration for the both of us. I truly, truly believe that what you don't know really can hurt you. And so I'm going to educate you, and we'll dive in this together, and we'll continue learning. So a peek into the future. What does this podcast hold for the future? Everything and anything that has to do with web marketing. I'll pick a topic each and every episode that we'll address. I'll explain to you why it's important. I'll explain to you how to implement it. And I hope that at the end of each episode, you have an actionable takeaway that you can go back. And if you do have a web company, that you can ask them maybe to make some changes for you. Or if you've got a website that you have some control over, that you actually go back and make some of these changes so that we can get your site where it needs to be. And that is on the top of Google, because when you're on the top of Google, good things happen. Okay, before we continue, I've got a couple extra bullet points here that I do want to mention before we go on. And that is that everything and anything that affects web marketing, your web marketing outcomes, is definitely something that, we'll be discussing here. There are no shortcuts. If anybody ever tells you a shortcut, there's shortcuts to getting to the top and succeeding with your web marketing efforts. Or if somebody guarantees you results, either one, I really encourage you to absolutely run the other direction. There are no shortcuts, and all of this takes time. But with time can come some really great things, like a great payday when somebody wants to buy out your business. And I also too believe that when things are a little bit more difficult, it really does weed out those that are just unwilling to do the time and put the energy into web marketing. So I think that opens an opportunity for those who are really serious about web marketing and as excited as I am about the opportunities that are just around the corner. Let's continue on now with today's main topic, which ties right into the podcast title, which is Web Marketing Show, online marketing strategies that create influence, impact, and income for businesses of all sizes and industries. Let's start with the first one, influence. These 3 I's, as I like to refer to them, are each important in their own way. So let's start with influence. A website must have influence. And what I mean by influence is it must have authority. It must have Google authority. It must have a solid SEO foundation. It must be a place online that people are going to stumble upon. Your website is geared towards a search that they're conducting. That's a website that has influence. It has power. It is a website that is going to be more difficult for others to surpass. And that all begins with a website that has a solid foundation. Second, you need to have impact. The website has to make a positive impact and make a great first impression when anybody lands on the website. If you have influence online, but you don't have impact when somebody stops and visits your website, you will lose that visitor. And I want to let you know that each and every visitor that does come to your website is valuable. You do not want to lose that visitor. And good sites that have great impact have a modern design. They're easy to navigate. They just have a great user experience. They also offer something maybe that's a little out of the ordinary or something that somebody else isn't offering them. But it is overall a website that is truly appealing for a lot of different reasons. And of course, the favorite is income. I believe that once you have online influence and you have a website that creates a positive impact, you will create income. And we all work hard, and at the end of the day, our time and energy is put into different tactics to grow our business. I believe a website should be every business's number one asset. Therefore, web marketing plays an important part of that, and with influence, impact will come income, and that's what we're all looking forward to. Today's topic was real short. I wanted to address the 3 I's, influence, impact, and income, because we're going to be talking about those 3 topics: how you can create influence, how you can create impact, and therefore create income for you and your company and your business line. Well, this does conclude the very first episode, and I just hope you're as excited as I am about this new podcast. It is all about you, your business, and successful web marketing to produce the results that are important to you. If you have any questions or have a specific topic or question you want me to address in any upcoming episodes, please let me know. You can email me at Randi, and that's RANDI at webmarketingshow.com. Or we also have a fun gadget on our website called SpeakPipe, and this allows you to press a button and leave a voicemail for me. That's great because then I can play it on an upcoming episode and answer your question. So as I wrap up, I want to leave you with one closing thought, and that is time matters. Get started today, and I believe you have taken the first step if you're listening to this podcast, and please come back. I promise to share really informative, good stuff with you, and I'm just so excited to see your website online. Take care.
This concludes this episode of the Web Marketing Show. If you need help or have questions or comments for Randi, please visit www.webmarketingshow.com. Be sure to listen to her next podcast show so you stay current with everything related to effective web marketing. And remember to take action today, because every day that slips by without taking action is one day further away from becoming a winning day.